recording. So, Matt, after 30 years, we find ourselves where it all began, in a pub, to do with football. We're in the Gold Bar, the Berner Sports Bar in the centre of Bern. So 30 years ago, nearly, you and the Bern Bears, this group of young boys fans who somehow found an affinity with Rangers, came over for your first game. And this year you're going to be coming over to watch Rangers and young boys in European action, and possibly coming over in 2020 to celebrate that 30th anniversary in some style. So how did you first get into Rangers? How did you discover Follow? How did you enjoy the Roseville Bar in those days?
Well, as a Swiss football fan, you automatically had to have an affinity for British football as a whole. So I got hooked, in fact, in '87, when I managed to go to Ibrox for my first game against Dynamo Kiev. You might remember that one. 2-0, Graham Souness narrowing the pitch and so forth.
And have you ever been at a better atmosphere?
Best atmosphere ever up until that time. Perfect. Then I got hooked, and that was also a time when fanzines were very popular, and so I came across Follow, bought one of the early issues down in London, and then it started, and we got in touch with each other. We managed to, thanks to you, to get Rangers tickets, and from then on it was just plain sailing, I would say.
If I remember, the first Old Firm game you came to was I'll let you tell that story, but I remember the weekend being somewhat chaotic as Swiss money coincided with Scottish drink.
Well, to be quite truthful, the first Old Firm game we saw, may I tell that, was at Celtic Park, and we had tickets for the home end, which was a bit strange for us, but main thing was that we managed to see Rangers against Celtic for the first time ever. And we, on the way to this specific place in the East End, we tried to talk to people, hoping that we could get tickets from them. We were quite naive, because one of the guys, Jimmy must have been his name, and it was New Year's Day, took us home to his place. He was instantly hit by his lovely wife, and we were then served lukewarm Tennent's Lager after a good night out. So I was quite impressive first impression we got from
Scottish hospitality.
Absolutely. So, but to cut the long story short, unfortunately, we had our debut at Celtic Park. But after that, we managed to see Rangers a number of times at Ibrox. And so I have to tell that, because that's important. In my lifetime, I've seen 6 Old Firm games, 6 Rangers wins, just for completeness and to bear in mind for the future, perhaps.
So is this you trying to get the club to pay for all your trips to?
It might be a nice try, yeah, but the best game, the absolute belter that I remember was the New Year's game at, again, Celtic Park, when they had their problems. We were plain sailing. We had a good night out. We met in the Roseville, had a few drinks, got onto the supporters bus to Celtic Park with all the bog rolls and all the confetti and everything that was organised. And bang, bang, bang. It was 3-0 after half an hour. I think Hadley and Mikhailichenko scoring within the first 6 or 7 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. Kuznetsov scored the fourth, if I recollect correctly, and that was the absolute highlight, I would say, in terms of the Rangers feeling, because it was the old Rangers end with something like 18,000 bears jumping around like crazy. So
it must have been one of the last kind of Old Firm games that was at Celtic Park.
I think so, because afterwards they had to move to Hampden for a certain time because they wanted to redecorate their place. Well,
so since then, the Bern Bears have continued to come over on almost an annual occasion. Sometimes give me notice. Other times, when I was round selling the fanzine, this group would shamble round the corner and announce that they'd come over and they were staying in Edinburgh and the girls had gone shopping. I'm sure that Francis and Suzanne and all these long-suffering wives who became Rangers supporters by proxy, even if you couldn't get them tickets, they enjoyed themselves. So it's been yourself, Alex, Danny, Bach, there's familiar faces over the years. How many of them do you hope to go over for the young boys game this season?
As we speak, we have managed to get 6 aboard. Hopefully, we can add some more faces, because the larger group that has developed over the years, we have some kind of a, let's say, the original members. That would be 5, and ever since we came over for the first time, we've enlarged the group, expanded the group, and overall I would say we would be a group of potentially 16 or 17 guys from the Bern area, and well, it's always difficult to make it possible to travel.
So by happy coincidence, the municipal symbol of Bern is the bear.
Exactly.
There was a bear pit. There is now a reserve down by the river, which actually does have live bears in it.
That's true, yeah.
So there's a kind of bit of mystery in the air. So obviously, it's one of these things where Rangers are your second team, and we're in a bar that's nicely decorated with young boys memorabilia, but I do get the feeling from the guys that I've met again in the last couple of days who have been over the last 30 years that they're in this happy situation where they don't really care who wins. I mean, not that I'm sure that you would admit that to your fellow young boys fans, but that seems to be the feeling that's built up. Is Rangers your second team, a bit of a special relationship that everybody's kind of come into the Rangers family. What I keep hearing from the guys is, especially in those days when, the Roseville bus was, we started off in 85, 86, and we were all of the same age as you guys, so we all got on well together, and friendships have kind of lasted. Mm-hmm. So I'm just wondering, when the ball came out and it said Rangers, then were people immediately onto the EasyJet and Ryanair sites?
That's true. So we immediately checked flight connections, booked early flights, EasyJet ones, because it's always the same whenever these draws are made. Soon afterwards, particularly prices for EasyJet flights rocket. So we did that instantly, and my initial reaction was, is it really true? This might be the first time that I'll have to buy one of these silly split scarves, with the home and the away side on the same scarf. I mean, that's absolute nonsense, but it would be my team in Switzerland and it would be Rangers on the same scarf. I haven't made up my mind yet whether I'll purchase one or not, but I'm tempted. Yeah. So that about sums it up.
So over the years, you guys, I've had people contact me that have bumped into you guys, and can you get tickets, and how do we go about things? So it's really been a great thing, I would say, for Rangers. Even in a small way, but there are dozens of these fan friendship things go on with the club over the years, and it's been good. And I think the fact is that it's lasted for 30 years, so it tells you that there's a real love there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's some kind of a common understanding of certain things or values, perhaps, and I think that's the basis that this can last that long, and that's true. Yes.
So obviously, over those 30 years, shall we say that the young boys' story has been a bit of a roller coaster. Perhaps, in Rangers' story in the last 10 years has been a bit of a roller coaster. So here we are, we find ourselves young boys who played Rangers in 77, 78 kind of season in Cup Winners' Cup. You've been up, you've been relegated, and then after 32 years you finally won the Swiss Championship again. So it's made a big difference for young boys, and obviously the trials and tribulations that Rangers have been through have been somewhat mirrored. So it's been, for somebody who's both a young boys fan and a Rangers fan, the last 10 years have been eventful.
Absolutely. You name it. It's been a roller coaster situation for someone like me, and well, that's the past, I would say. And looking at what the situation looks like today, I mean, we managed to get to the top of the Swiss League. We played Champions League football last season, which came completely unexpected, to be quite truthful. It was an icing on the cake, like no one could have expected before. And at the same time, Rangers have been on the up, and frankly speaking, this season, that's my personal view, there's the potential that Rangers might regain a first title after all these difficult years, and I'm very confident that the league title will be back at Ibrox. Hopefully this season, next season, I'm sure it will be there. And then again, we would be in an era where we could say, I mean, you must be a glory hunter supporting top teams, the two top teams in Scotland and in Switzerland.
Well, I think we've also got to give a little bit of an alibi to the Bern Bears and say that there were Bern Bears coming over to games when it was Rangers against East Fife. And
that's true, yes. I mean, the true and loyal supporter doesn't care who the opposition is. And I think that's also a parallel, be it when it's about Rangers games. We couldn't care less whether it's against East Fife or Queen of the South or an Old Firm game. Be it here in Switzerland, a Champions League game against Juve or Manchester United, or a crap game against the Vaduz of Liechtenstein, who sometimes also play in a top league here in Switzerland. So I think that cannot matter to a true fan.
Your message to, say, any young boys fan who just happens to come across this video, hasn't met the Bern Bears, from the last 30 years, what would your advice be to them in terms of their choice of British football club?
There are no-brainer questions, I suppose. I mean, no, there's no question about that. I mean, it's to me, it's just Rangers. You know, in terms of the mindset, in terms of the kind of family atmosphere. Every time I went to a Rangers game, also abroad, or when the Rangers came to Switzerland, what is that?
Grasshoppers of it.
Yes, in Zurich. I mean, it was like one big family, and I just feel relaxed and comfortable. So therefore,
So your duty now is that obviously you and Francesca have been together for a little while.
Indeed.
You've now got the two boys, so you've got to pass this
girl
on.
and the boy. Yeah.
Sorry.
No.
Shows you're much interest, aren't you? Yeah. But in terms of the offspring, you've got to get them over as well and pass it on to a new generation.
Absolutely.
And likewise the Bern Bears, well, you know,
Yeah.
I think you've lasted 30 years and hopefully there's another 30 years in you guys.
Let's hope so. And we'll team up in 30 years again. Wherever, however, whatever. I couldn't care less the circumstances will be under by then.
Well,
but
thank you for your service.
my pleasure.
And when you come over, we'll be delighted to see you.
Likewise. Thank you very much. And yeah. Bears all over the world, in Switzerland in particular. Take care. Mind the words. Mind the conversation that you've just heard. There's no question about whom to support. Cheers.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. Oh.